Chapter 16. Midway through the 5th week, the patient's tracheotomy tube and urinary catheter were removed. She had begun to swallow more strongly, so it was decided that the nasogastric feeding tube might also be removed in a few days. She was showing increased awareness of her surroundings since being placed in a wheelchair. Ryan. At school on Tuesday, I kept wondering about the police youth aid meeting. Vince asked if I wanted to go down to McDee's, but when I told him about having to see the cops, he shut up fast. I can press buttons and make him do nearly anything now. Anything except the one thing that matters. John had left us the car, and Mum made me drive. We waited a few minutes in the foyer. Then a different cop appeared, a younger guy with a moustache. Mrs. O'Carroll? I'm Terry Smith, Youth Aid Officer. You and Ryan like to come along? It was the same small, bare room as last time. There was new graffiti on the table. Tyrone rocks. We sat and listened while the cops said this was just a quick meeting to explain the family group conference in about a fortnight. The police would talk first to the Child, Youth and Family Service about what had happened. Someone from the CIFs would run the conference. The official charge was now careless use of a motor vehicle causing injury, and the aim of the conference was to let the victim, my back still crawled at the word, or her family and friends, say whatever they wanted. The offender's family and friends could speak too. Both sides would try and decide what should happen after that. It's important everyone has a say, the youth aid guy told us. This is a coming together process. Tara's family and friends. Shit, would they let Brittany have a go at me? Is there anyone outside the family you'd like to bring along? The cop asked. Mum hesitated and said we'd get back to him. Ash? I thought. No, he was in the car. It wouldn't be right. There was another thing I had to know. Is there still going to be a court case? The cop put on a neutral expression. That's not for me to say, Ryan. The family group conference will make a recommendation, then the police will decide. It was all over in 15 minutes. I drove home with neither of us saying much. I went to TKD and couldn't concentrate. Where are you? Greg asked. I walked back through the spring night, realizing something on the way. In the living room, Mum and John had just finished talking, and they had exactly the same idea. Yeah, we'd ask Greg if he could be at the family group conference. Tara. My face and mouth felt clear. Something had been taken away. People moved me round on the bike or whatever, and I got scared. I didn't like being moved like that. I might fall or fly through the air. I did that once. I can remember. Mel and Brittany were here. They brought something. I'm trying to remember that too. Some guy. Who? Yeah, a picture of a guy. A real hunk in a magazine with his shirt off. They kept holding it up for me to look at and laughing. It was so embarrassing. Mum or Dad might walk in and see it. No, they have to knock before they come into my room. Mum and I had a row about that a few times. So where did I wanted to say the guy was really hot. Then I heard this weird noise from my mouth, and Brit started to get hyped up. When I looked next, they weren't there. Ryan. Ash told me how Brittany and Mel took this picture of some stud up to the hospital to show Tara what she's missing. He said it was Brittany's idea. I'm surprised she didn't get some scissors and cut off the guys. Wednesday, Thursday. The days went by like wheels rolling. 35 since it happened. For the first few of them, I'd counted every hour. Each week now, she was a bit better. But how much better would she ever get? And how long would it be? I thought of that magazine article again. By the end of the 5th week, the patient was able to focus her eyes on people. A picture of a good-looking young man seemed to hold her interest, and the interest of nursing staff. She appears to understand some speech. Her movements have become more purposeful, so she was given mittens to prevent her from pulling out the nasogastric tube. For 2 nights she was restrained in her bed with straps, because she had begun struggling and trying to get out of her bed. Her parents found the restraints so distressing that her mother slept on the floor in the patient's room, holding her and talking to her each time she tried to get out of bed. After another 3 nights, the patient was sleeping in a more relaxed manner. Against all these promising developments must be set the neurosurgeon's warning that complete recovery is uncertain and a continuing significant disability seems possible. Tara. My hands felt thick and funny. I tried to look at them, but turning my head was so hard. A couple of times I got shit scared. I was all shut in. I had to escape. Then Mum was there, stopping me and saying things. I tried to push her away, yelled, "Sod off," at her, but then it felt better. I was sitting up again. I could see things, but sometimes they were blurry. More time had gone. Hey, did I need to go to the loo? I must have been, without even knowing it. Did I? I was worried before that I might pong. There was the smell of fish and chips, someone who talked funny. I couldn't think who. That guy. I kept coming back to him. I've seen him before somewhere. He's important. I was more here now. I'd been away. I didn't know where, but I wasn't going back. I was 15, no, 16 years old, and I was here. They were pushing me down a hall. I felt a bit sick. No, I was feeling a lot sick. Ryan. I went to the hospital after school on Friday. I didn't tell my mates. Vince wouldn't come anyway. Ash would, but he'd probably tell Mel, and she'd tell Brittany. I pushed through the doors into Ward 11's reception area and started down the corridor, just as the Chinese guy came out of Tara's room. There was no time to pretend. I was heading somewhere else. Anyway, he'd already stopped. "You our friend?" I stared at the floor, then I made myself look up. No. I was driving the car. Shit, I thought as I spoke. This guy probably knows martial arts. He'll break my neck in 3 places. But he just said, "You help her now?" It might have been help her, but I wasn't going to get picky about his accent. I nodded. I want. Yeah. He kept watching me. He had a face that had seen things. That's the only way I can put it. After a moment, he said, "She is number top girl," and moved off. Any other time I might have grinned, but I'd got out of the habit of grinning. I knocked, and Mrs. Gower told me to come in. She was sitting beside Tara, who was in the wheelchair again. She nodded at me. "Here's Ryan again, love." The girl wore a t-shirt with 67 on it in red letters. Someone had plaited her hair into pigtails. There were thick white gloves on her hands, those ones without fingers like socks. With the pigtails, they made her look like some cute little kid. Mrs. G saw me gazing at the gloves. They had to stop her pulling the tubes out. "You're getting impatient, aren't you, darling?" The brown eyes watched me. Her mouth was slightly open. She looked puzzled, like she was trying to work something out. "Hi," I mumbled. "Hi, I like the socks." She made a noise, different from last time, a sort of gargling sound. "She understands you," her mother smiled. Actually, the noise sounded more like she made it again. Then her head came forward and she spewed up over her t-shirt.